Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm JayDreamerZ, and today I have a special guest. My friend ODD is here, and we're gonna chat together. We're not gonna like do interviews or any weird YouTube stuff. It's just two people who have the same interest talking about the same stuff, and that stuff is the comic books, fantasy, sci-fi, all of that stuff having elements of truth, if not a whole bunch of truth, a whole bunch of reality to it. We're the type of people who we can watch these things and we can get some stuff from it, you know? I talk about this a lot. All the best prophets of old, all the wise men, they always spoke in parables. So they're telling stories, and the people who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see, they're going to be listening. They're going to understand that there's more to the story there. And I know I get a lot of stuff from the movies, and ODD is a huge movie fan like I am. And I believe that, you know, whenever we talk about the movies and stuff and all the things that are in there, a lot of you guys relate to that. And you find a lot of truth to it as well. But something that, oh, my bad. Hey, you want to say what's up to everybody?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Glad to be here.
So, something that I was talking about, man, what were we talking about? Damn.
Movies,
Uh,
comic books,
oh, that's
truth
right,
in
the comic
movies.
book. So,
Yeah.
uh, I never really used to read comic books. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, you know, I saw the cool covers and stuff like that, but I wasn't like a big reader, especially comic books when I was a kid. I thought they looked cool, but they just weren't appealing to me. Kind of like right now, like anime is really popular and has been for like 10 or 15 years at least. And it's never really appealed to me because that wasn't my, you know, that wasn't my style, was anime. Um, but as I've been on this truth seeking journey and this truth seeking path, I've just like, I, every time I do research, I come across stuff that's comic book related. You know what I mean? Like I'm on the computer, I'm looking up stuff. Next thing I know, it sends me to like a certain comic book character or the Marvel movies. Like the Marvel movies come up a whole bunch because they have all kinds of truth in those ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially the Avengers Endgame and the one before that, like with all Thanos trying to destroy half the population of everything. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like a allegory for basically like Bill Gates trying to
right.
basically depopulation.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. So when you first saw Thanos and he was talking about snapping his finger and just wiping half the people off the face of the planet, did you get a little tempted? Like, I don't know if I had that power. There's a lot of messed up people in the world right now.
I know, right? Yeah, no, I didn't really think that,
I
but
did. I totally did. I'm like, whoo! I'm glad I'm not Thanos, man, because I was in a big hating the world moment at that when I watched that movie. I was like, man, this world sucks. And then Thanos just snapped his finger and half the people were gone, and I was like, take that.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a great power, but yeah, a lot of responsibility with something like that. I try to love everybody, and I know I catch a lot of hell from people, and people talk stuff to me. That's about as worst people get. As far as like people in the world described by the news, it's hard to trust that. You know, like there's a lot of people like my parents, for instance, they think that like the world is a terrible place and you shouldn't let your kids go outside because basically the news makes, they
Yeah,
put them in a fear state. So as far as that goes, I don't really think like that, but the people I interact with on a daily basis that tell me to kill myself, yeah, if I could snap my fingers on them, I might.
yeah, I know, right? So something I wanted to like kind of point out is the elephant in the room, and it's really comes back to like the never ending story. Just that's one of my favorite movies. I think you did a video about it too, right?
Love that movie. Got a poster on the wall right over here.
Ooh, there's so much in it. There's so much in it. Okay, hold on. I might talk about that for just a second. But
All right.
so the never ending story, right? The stuff that we're talking about, I just want to talk to like all the viewers. The stuff that we're talking about is we're seeing into the stories, but we know that the stories are based on reality. Okay, so for example, a lot of people have seen the trilogy Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. I don't know what to call it, but those 3 M. Night Shyamalan's movies. And in Glass, so spoiler alert, okay, but in Glass, this character, Mr. Glass, who I think is a lot of symbolism for something specific, but he comes right out and says, these comic books, they're real. They're just been cartoonified. I think he actually even used that word, cartoonified. Like, this is all your history. This is all real stuff, but it's just been like you know when someone draws a caricature of you, like it's you, but it's not you. It's like a cartoon version, you know? So that's what Mr. Glass says. And that reminds me of, like, in the Neverending Story, Bastion's sitting up there. He's the main character. And he's reading this book. And he starts to get a little creepy feeling like, whoa, I kind of feel like this book is talking to me. And that's where I get excited, because I feel like a lot of us resonate with that. A lot of us resonate with, like I was just telling ODD a minute ago, I feel like the universe is talking specifically to me sometimes, like dropping me these breadcrumbs, dropping me these Easter eggs of life that other people cannot see at all. Or even if I told them about it, they might be like, oh, yeah, that's interesting, or that's a coincidence, or whatever. But for us, it's deep. And it's, man, what's another word for deep? Like when it's super deep.
You got, I can't think of anything like
Oh, profound. That was the word I was looking for.
profound. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, it's profound. And anyhow, so that Bastion, he's like stops in the moment in the story when he realizes the story revolves around him. And he goes, it's not real. It's just a story. It's not real. And I think a lot of people, we have those aha moments, you know, whenever we're watching the movies. It gets kind of scary, you know. It's like a nervous feeling. Well, for me, this is how I get, right? Like when something just reaches out and knocks on the door of my chest and says, hey, I'm talking to you. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, I'm seeing some seriously profound and deep things in this movie, and the movie doesn't explain it. That's the other thing that we were talking about. Like, when these movies go out of their way to put some weird symbolism and some weird stuff in there, it means something if they never explain it to you. That alone gives it weight and value to look into it. You know what I mean? People have reasons for withholding something that's obviously needs an explanation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They sometimes I feel like these things that are being inserted into the movies or written into the books is almost like they're channeling into some sort of, like it's coming into them and they don't even know why.
Yes.
And for some reason that's like, I like to theorize that maybe the dome has something to do with it, because when I used to think I lived on a spinning globe, people would talk about the hundred monkey effect, where as soon as 100 monkeys know how to do something, then that ability kind of transfers to all the rest of the monkeys, even if they're on different islands and stuff. So it's like this consciousness type thing. So for me, I feel like the dome has something. There's something in like the dome like has like this knowledge that's out there always for us to kind of tap into. It's just some weird thoughts that I have. I've been thinking about that.
I think you're really close, actually, because, you know, I've been talking about the plasma apocalypse. And so, you know, I'm theorizing, along with a few other people as well, that it's not even a theory. Like, academia says there is a plasma sphere right outside of our world. They just recently found out that it's not even like a complete sphere, but it's actually the Birkeland currents that go around our world in the form of plasma. And that's also aka the Van Allen belts, right? So anyhow, there's this plasma right outside of our sky, the dome of our world, or whatever, however people want to look at it, regardless of, you know, any type of cosmology or worldview. It's been established there is plasma right outside of our world. We are inside of the plasma itself. It's just wrapped around us. So if the plasma is above us, and heaven is above us. I mean, nobody points down. even even if we were living on a ball, people always point up to the sky like, hey, where's heaven? Well, it's up there. I know heaven's up and hell's down.
Hmm.
That's how we're taught. But the ether itself, or the aether, is also, felt as being this sort of ghostly, ectoplasmic type spiritual stuff that connects us all, that's floating around above us as well. People reach up, they grab something from the ether and pull it down. What if that's the thing that really actually connects us all, right? There's an energy that's just permeating everything. And then like some people are starting to become really fine-tuned to it,
Hmm.
especially the people who are in like the entertainment industry, because they're they're typically more creative. They have like an influx of creativity, and the creativity taps into you know the plasma, or the ether, or heaven, or when people like channel other beings or whatever, and people like Edgar Casey's Akashic Records. Possibly. I'm just saying possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's something to all of this stuff for sure. And just for me, finding out in the past few years, everything that I found out with the cosmology of our world has really, brought a lot more things to the forefront that, things that you would normally not be able to believe or take seriously are now on the table and being looked at finally so you
Yes.
could figure this stuff out.
Yes. And you know what? It's the awakening. Like people are opening their eyes. I mean, I wouldn't go around saying like I'm completely awake 100% or whatever. Like I'm shaking
Right.
it off. You know what I mean? I'm shaking off
Hmm.
my slumber. Uh, but this is the awakening. Like, and it's just like you said, the 100 monkey effect. There's no cause to it for the most part. People are just coming up with ideas and alternative views on things all on their own, right? And then of course social media is helping those people to get together, and then it gets popular because then other people are like, whoa, this stuff never used to be talked about, this was taboo. Now all of a sudden everybody's talking about all these various topics, you know what I mean? Not just like controversial ones, but all sorts of topics, which is why I wanted to talk about having possibly having real superpowers. There's and I'm not talking about feeding somebody's ego, right? I'm not saying like, no, you can do it. You're powerful on the inside, and you're just an awesome person, and you have superpower. No, I'm talking about really actually having superpowers, just like you see in the comic books or on TV or whatever. Oh, Unlearn the System is in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, do you think they turned the American Indian spider into Spider-Man? Yes, absolutely I do. Because the American Indians, or the natives of various tribes, they believed in the spider grandmother, or the spider woman, really. Typically it was a woman, because it was the creator goddess. And she always lived above, typically, sometimes inside of the earth. And I think that's the plasma. Like if you look at a picture of the plasma dome, or I'm sorry, the magnetosphere, or the plasmasphere, right? In just any textbook or science book, it's exactly like Spider-Man's logo. Like that is Spider-Man's logo wrapped around our world, which is really interesting. But yeah, I think they did turn, the spider goddess into Spider-Man. Spider-Man is absolutely related to electromagnetics anyway, because one of his powers is the hair on his arm stands up when danger is near. And that's exactly what happens. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to get hit by lightning, or there's electricity involved, it has your hair stand on end. And he's not the only one that has that power too. But yeah, let's talk about Unbreakable and Split and Glass. What do you think of those movies?
I thought they were pretty crazy. And at first, I think, I saw Split and I had no idea that it was a sequel to Unbreakable. Of course, they didn't even really, I think he was going for that. And I think towards the end, right, is when they kind of made a hint at it. But
Yeah.
either way, in the first movie, Unbreakable, when you go back and watch that now, you can see all sorts of hints that they're going to make the following two movies. Like when there's a scene where Glass is looking at a comic book, and
Yeah.
the characters are they're more they're more comic like with the guy looks the hero looks really strong, and
Right.
the villain looks like a beast.
Yeah.
But they're telling you right there, like it's more metaphorical or symbolic as to the human version of the more grounded human version or earthly version that we would have here now, like in this day and age. But in the comic book, there's a guy wearing green. He's the superhero. There's the beast wearing yellow. And if you pay attention throughout the movies, that's the well, I don't even know his name, but the Bruce Willis guy, the Unbreakable guy, he wears that green hoodie, the raincoat
Yeah.
thingy, and it's always green. He always wears that green, so that's his color. Then the Beast is always wearing yellow, and then and then purple for Glass. So they're color coded too, and it's really strange. But yeah, I really like those movies.
Yeah, I super totally agree that the color scheme is always picked purposefully.
Hmm.
Like I started to notice that with the comic book superheroes, a lot of times they had red and blue, like on their outfit, just red and blue outfits or whatever. Spider-Man, obviously.
Superman.
Superman, right? And that's like the two different poles of a magnet is the red and blue, the two different sides. You know what I mean? It's
Those
just
are
two different
Saturn colors
polarities.
too.
What is it?
Have you ever done like found that those are Saturn's colors, and when they mix together, they make
Oh, yeah.
purple for the purple haze? It's weird, but if you look into Saturn's colors, you'll find that red and blue are a very big part of it, and a lot of people theorize that's why they're so heavy here on Earth with politics, Crips and Bloods,
Right, right.
Coca-Cola, Pepsi logos. I mean, it's just
Halo, red versus blue,
yeah.
right? So check this out. Here's what I was thinking about the Unbreakable trilogy, right? All right. Let me talk about Mr. Glass real quick. I think he just represents the dome. Like, he represents the one that created this, basically gave the superpowers to the other two, right? So follow me on this. Let's just say, and I was totally going to talk about this closer to the end, but I might as well just bring it up. Did you hear that?
Yeah, is that thunder over there?
Yeah, that was really loud.
I'm pretty close to you. It's raining outside over here.
All right, so check this out. Mr. Glass, right? He's purple because of the royalty, and he represents the dome, possibly, right? The glass dome, the highest, hardest glass dome, etc. That's above our world and goes around our world, right? And when he breaks for the first time, that's about the same time that Bruce Willis started getting his powers or whatever. You know what I mean? When he was younger. So Mr. Glass breaks, which means the dome breaks. Now, why would the dome breaking give somebody superpowers? I asked myself. And I'm like, well, if there's an influx of plasma outside of our world, right? And the plasma comes in, if that plasma has anything to do with the magic of old, and if it has anything to do with like why our past and our esoteric history is so full of such fantasy and fantastic stories, maybe it comes in and literally gives people certain powers. Or here's another idea, right? Follow me on this one. Let's say the glass dome breaks, right? And the poles flip, the poles reverse. And our electromagnetics basically reverse and go the opposite way, weakening our gravitational pull here on Earth. If our gravity was weakened, we would have all kinds of seemingly instant superpowers. Just like John, what's his name? John something of Mars? John Carter.
Oh yeah, that Disney movie.
Yeah, did you see that?
I have seen it.
Okay, do you remember like when he first gets to Mars and he can't walk straight because he's like jumping around because he's so like strong. He's instantly strong on Mars. Remember?
Yeah,
And he's
interesting.
like,
Oh.
he starts practicing his like super jumps and stuff right away. But he's all awkward. He doesn't know how to walk because he's used to the Earth's gravity. And Mars represents the red world or the red sky, right? Which is also something that, you see everywhere. The whole red sky associated with the apocalypse or post-apocalyptic movies when the sky turns red and typically like fog rolls in or, it's all the same elements. And I think that that's describing the plasma apocalypse. When the glass dome breaks, plasma comes inside, the light reverses, goes upwards, you can see the plasma on the outside, you can see through the dome, past the dome, you can see the other worlds and stuff like that, possibly. But the plasma comes in, and with it comes basically the return of magic to our world. And so like that's in the movie, I think that's what he represents. And he's the one that created the other two, basically. So the glass dome breaking, Mr. Glass has to break in order for this to happen. That's why he's Mr. Glass. That's his whole purpose, is to break. Which is like, you know what I mean? Like that sucks for him, but in the movie, but that's his whole purpose. And then you've got Bruce Willis, who all of a sudden, basically out of nowhere, gets super strong. Well, dude, if you and I made it through this and all of a sudden the Earth's gravity reduced by 5/6 or something crazy, like let's say it was just the same as Mars or something, right? I could get one of my 25-pound weights, right? Pick it up and it would be, I don't know what the math is on that, but you know what I mean? Significantly lighter if it weighs 1/6 of 25 pounds, right? Someone in the chat can, if you guys want to figure that out, it'd be awesome. But then on top of it, check this out. Not only does the 25-pound weight weigh less, but we just grew up under an extreme pressurized pull or push of an environment. Basically, we've been working out in the most strenuous of conditions, even doing your normal average day-to-day stuff. So our muscles are basically super now in comparison to everybody that would be born into that world under the new gravity pull. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't really believe in gravity very much.
No,
so
I mean, not gravity, but, we'll say electromagnetics.
Yeah, electromagnetics, that works better.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's what I call it, but, I know there's thousands of people are probably going to watch, and, you know what I mean? I just throw it out there. It's easier to describe. Okay, so check this out. And then finally we've got the beast, right?
The beast.
Okay, so check this out. Here's another idea that I have. The plasma is basically spirit, okay? Mm-hmm. It's like in Ghostbusters, ectoplasm just means plasma that's outside, but it's outside of the body. It's outside of being corporal, so it's incorporeal, right? So it's basically plasma, and that's what they show us on Ghostbusters as well. So if that plasma comes in and enters into our world, and especially if that plasma gets sealed off in our world, because eventually the hole in the sky would seal itself up or whatever, I think that plasma is going to be looking for bodies to live in, for looking for something to live in. You know what I mean? It doesn't want to just dissipate in the air. You know what I'm saying? So basically it can possess people. So as a part of that, and I'm just throwing some theories out there, you can feel free to jump in or whatever. I love talking about the whole plasma apocalypse stuff. But anyway, so as a part of that, let's just say that the plasma possessed are reflected, the plasma is reflected through the eyes. And so that gives them red, glowing eyes. Now, the plasma is here on a search and destroy mission, basically, because it's cleansing everything. It's coming in and cleaning out the world because it's, it's dirty and it's messed up. So the people or the animals that get plasma possessed follow suit if they don't have a strong will. Basically, also, it would amplify whatever existing energy the individuals already have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, that's what I think that those ones are. And not only that, but the beast, he also had all this, he also had multiple personalities. So basically if you were to look at multiple personality as having more to do with varying spirits as opposed to altars of the mind and the mind just being fractured and split, or those spirits competing for the mind and taking the light, so to speak, just like in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I just got a donation from Hamid. He donated 100 SEK, and he says, you are two of the most intelligent and open-minded people I have ever heard of in my life. You two have opened my mind so much. Much respect to you both, brothers.
Much love to you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Hamid. That was really kind. But anyhow, that's kind of my take on Unbreakable. But regardless of the plasma apocalypse, because I'll come back to that towards the end, because I do want to talk about some other stuff. But regardless of that, Mr. Glass comes right out and says, comic books are real. Like they're just cartoonified versions of people and people that have real powers and things that really did happen. It's just that it's been embellished over time, or possibly purposefully put into story form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he said that the Egyptians wrote on walls, and that was basically their comic books. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's right. Hey, you said you wanted to show me some stuff in that book.
Our Gods Wear Spandex book.
Yeah.
So this is a good book for the audience.
Oh, here, let me make it a little bigger.
Basically, the topic. This is a good book about that. This is about basically the past and all the mythology from the different cultures, basically being their versions of heroes and their gods and stuff. And nowadays they don't really tell us that our comic books, they call them heroes and villains, but they're good gods or bad gods, and it's pretty much the same thing. And you could tell with Marvel's Thor. I mean, that's just right on out there with the Greek characters and stuff like that. They have a character named Shazam on DC, and he comes from a mixture of people: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, and Achilles, and Mercury. So when you take the first letters of all those names, you smash it together, it turns into Shazam.
No way.
Yeah. And there's just all sorts of stuff like that. But this book is Our Gods Wear Spandex. It pretty much goes over tons of different.
Does that have lots of pictures?
Yeah, it does. It kind of does. Let me find one for you. Here's one. Here's one with Superman, and he's got the star of Rimfan.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of his chest instead of an S, because they talk about how Superman was created by a Jew, so it's not really as crazy as it looks. But they say the Jews were going through a hard time, and this guy was looking to create his own savior, by writing a story about it. So some of it is just kind of meh. But other things like Captain Marvel, like this guy has a Freemasonic square and compass in the middle of his chest. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, well, I can see it. It's kind of glitching out, so your video is a little smaller than normal. But yeah, if you hold it really close, everybody will see it.
Yeah, it's like a little strange.
Yeah, I see the little compass and the G.
Yeah, but basically the front cover is the Last Supper and all that, and I don't know what to think about all that. I'm researching religious stuff, mythological stuff, and I don't know what to take away from it anymore. This world is so crazy. I don't know what's real and what isn't. I'm trying to stay grounded and just really put in the effort to understand and learn more about these things. Like I've been reading the Bible a lot. I've never taken that seriously at all, but there's things in there, and there's things happening now that that make me want to understand the Bible better, because it's not fair to just say, oh, that's a fairy tale.
Right.
When the earth is flat, giants, existed and all this other stuff. So, yeah, I'm just putting in the effort to research.
You can't throw anything out the window. You know what I mean? Once you start down the rabbit hole and you start saying, okay, I could see that, then you have to say, well, what are the implications of that? Because now you have to give way to some more stuff, not accepting it or saying, I believe it or whatever, but just being open-minded and considering the alternatives, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about alternative views, alternative beliefs, and instead of the instructed way that we have to live, the way that we've been raised in order to grow up, thinking of the reality that's just been handed to us, like they talk about in the Truman Show. But I did want to talk about, there's a song I have like some notes on here because I know I'd forget. But have you ever heard that song? I don't even know who sings it, but it's about superheroes. And at first it sounds kind of cool, but then I started listening to the lyrics and it's like, I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts. You know that song?
I've never heard that song.
Okay, well, it's like, okay, man, you should Google the lyrics real quick.
What is it called?
Oh, man.
Okay, I'll just type in.
Superhero, I want to say. Lyrics.
Hercules and his gifts.
Oh, here we go. People just have been searching. I've been reading books of old song. Oh, it's the Chainsmokers. And
Something just
Coldplay.
like this.
Yeah, read that one. So check this out. At first, I was jamming out to that song because it's talking about Batman and superheroes and the ancient myths and legends. But then as I started to pay attention to the lyrics, I was like, wait a minute. This song is really pumping you up to be average and like nothing special about you. You know what I mean? Like, cause the guy's basically saying like that he's singing the song to a woman and she's like, you don't have to be Superman. You don't have to be Batman. Like, I'm not impressed by all that. I just want like a regular guy, which I get. I do get that, you know, like that's very romantic idea or whatever, but it's also like sort of subliminally reaching into everyone's mind and having us really take pride in not having any power whatsoever, you know, not having the ability to save the day or, you know what I mean? Like to step up and be a hero from time to time. So there's this part in the song. It's like, I'm not the kind of person that it fits. Every time I swear I say I am the kind of person that it fits. If at the very least, you know what I mean? Because I mean, honestly, yes, I am. You know what I mean? You don't have to fly through the air to be a superhero. Bro, you're a superhero. Like, you probably have like hundreds of fan mail over the years of people are like saying, bro, you changed my life, bro. You really helped me go in a new direction. I totally copied your thing and now I have a YouTube channel called JayDreamerZ, etc.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, and it's it's all about your mind, and that's what they do with the media and other things, the schooling and everything. They suppress your mind. They keep it from its full potential, and they keep you thinking that everything is just it is what it is, and everything has to be done in a certain way. But if you start to understand and unlock, parts of your mind that have been suppressed for so long, you can pretty much do anything.
I totally agree.
It's true.
Which is that reminds me of like I don't know if this is like considered comic book or anything, but like Stephen King stuff and all the kids having the shine and like developing these like psychic and different like powers. I don't know what the word for it is. Psychic abilities or different ESP like extrasensory abilities and stuff because they have the shine. And I don't know. I think that the shine. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at like your camera so much. I'm trying to look at like making sure everything doesn't mess up on my side.
Nah, just do your thing, man. I'm just chilling. Okay,
so check this out. The shine is possibly related to like the ancient gods or the Anunnaki or like the even the reptilians or the elves or like they were all said, even vampires, like they're all depicted to have this shine. You know what I mean? Like they have like a sparkle or a shiny skin to them or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really interesting because I think a lot of people are picking up on the shine, and that's why we're calling this like the awakening. Not only are people like being more open-minded to new ideas, but people are starting to develop like certain interesting abilities. And I mean, you could like easily look on YouTube and find real life superheroes with superpowers. They're not fighting crime or anything, but like, you've probably seen like that video of the dude that can like stick metal to his body. Like he has a magnetic body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
I
like the guy that like swims in freezing cold water.
Wim Hof.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's badass. I actually take cold showers because of him, and I like practice his breathing method sometimes to you get oxygen into your blood cells when
really?
you just like
Oh my
You just, I got to
God.
breathe all crazy. Basically, it's like, so when you take cold shower, if you could get your water cold enough, or you take an ice bath, it makes you breathe. It makes you breathe faster and harder. So you do oxygenate your cells,
Hmm.
and that's the whole point. You don't have to be in the cold to do it, but when you are in the cold, it kind of forces you to do it. So what he teaches is that you could just do it right now where you're standing, and you don't have to be cold. But if
Right.
you start breathing like you're freezing cold, you'll get some oxygen in your body, and it's very beneficial. You know, it's you can hold your breath longer and things like that. But yeah, Wim Hof, he's cool.
I'm gonna try it out. Do you have to just do like a few quick ones?
Yeah, I have 30 seconds of just pumping them
Okay.
in and
Make sure I
out.
hold on to something so I don't fall
Yeah,
down in the shower.
I've gotten to the point. You don't have to be in the shower when you do it, but
Okay. Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I like felt like I was gonna faint, but I didn't.
Yeah. In other news, local YouTuber JayDreamerZ passed out in his own bathroom and ended up in the hospital.
That'd be crazy.
Oh, so anyhow, Stranger Things. I
Stranger
want to
Things.
kind of touch on Stranger Things. So that's pretty much fantasy, comic booky. I love all the retro stuff that's coming out too. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
back to like the '80s, like that movie Mandy that we were talking about.
Yeah,
That thing's super retro.
totally.
Even in the movie, the main characters lived at Crystal Lake.
Yeah, like on Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is pretty cool. Stranger Things. I thought it was. I don't know. It was really good. Oh, they they made a movie called Summer of '84. It caught my interest because I was born in '84, but I watched it and it was just like Stranger Things without the sci-fi aspect. It was more of a serial killer aspect, but it was the exact same thing. The '80s music. There was a serial killer in the neighborhood and these little kids trying to investigate and solve the crime. But
yeah.
write it down. Summer of '84. Really, really good movie if you like Stranger Things.
All right. I'm just moving this camera so you can. That way I can look in the same direction and everybody sees me. Okay, thank God. All right, hold on. Let me type out a note to myself. Summer of. Is it on? Is it on Netflix?
It might be.
Okay. If it's on Amazon Prime or Netflix, I'll watch it. Or
Cool.
Redbox.
I'm a pirate. Arr, so I get whatever
Oh
I want.
yeah, I totally forgot about that. Oh yeah. So anyhow, like when you first started watching Stranger Things, and then everybody has the same mindset. Like you're kind of spooked out, and you're on the edge of your seat. Like, whoa, this is different. But then all of a sudden, you find out that there's an agency behind it. There's some sort of government entity that's like working some strings. You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
nobody really knows about. That a few people find out about.
Yeah.
How many themes, how many movies is that like one of the main themes, you know what I mean? Is some government black ops type organization, Sector 7 or whatever, like all these different secret organizations uh that are a part of it. Like why would they
Yeah.
keep on doing that? Uh, if that was absurd and if that was unreal, that concept would not be popular. It wouldn't permeate into our pop culture.
That's true. And they do it so often so that you're conditioned to call it out as fiction, or, hey, bro, that was just a movie,
Yeah.
or, oh, like Stranger Things, or, you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
First thing that pops into my head when you said that was Cabin in the Woods. Have you ever seen that? Cabin in the
Uh
Woods.
Maybe, I don't remember.
There's like five teenagers that they travel. All of a sudden, they're going down a road and they pass through a kind of a like a barrier, and it's invisible. But if you hit it with something, you can see the hexagons, and it's like a hex. You know how like honeycombs
Yeah, yeah.
all connected together and stuff. So the bird flies into it, and then you could see it for a split second. So you see all these little hexagons connected together, and it forms a dome. But anyway, these teenagers go in there,
Wow.
but in the background, in somewhere further away, there's people betting on how they're going to die, and it turns out to be this corporation that shows people like going through weird situations on TV and stuff. But the people that work there, they're like, zombies are going to get him, or this guy's like,
Oh,
the
I've
red
seen the preview for this.
yeah,
Okay.
the redneck killer family's gonna get him, or
Right.
blah blah blah. There's all these different ways to die, and it's pretty much any horror movie you ever seen.
Right.
That kind of stuff can happen in this little world. So they bet on it, but they're called, what are they called? They're called management. The like basically the Illuminati of this movie. They're called management. So
Yeah.
it's totally like the same thing, kind of like adjustment bureau in a way.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like all the Men in Black or the secret agents. Hey, have you seen that show Good Omens?
I did it come out? I've been waiting for that.
Oh, it super came out and it's awesome.
I've been waiting for that since I watched American Gods, because that's the same guy who wrote those books.
Yeah. And it's
I
got
didn't even
like
know
one of
that.
the old Doctor Who's in there too. David Tennant.
Dude, I'm grabbing that right now.
Oh, you're gonna really enjoy it because like it's one of those movies that like, it's got like a sort of cheesy element to it, or I'm sorry, it's a TV show, but it's got like this sort of semi cheesy kind of element to it, but packed with like all kinds of in your face truths. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those kind of shows.
Cool, man. Grabbing it right now.
I wrote down the ones you said: Summer of '84 and Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, get those for
Oh,
sure.
hey, have you seen what about that movie with Seth Rogen, The End of the World, or This Is the End or something?
I think it's called This Is the End. Yeah, it has all the guys from all those funny Judd Apatow movies.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
also one of those actually, you know what? I'm just going to say a whole bunch of Seth Rogen's movies are that same type of movie. Like it's got like this raunchy, cheesy, like really distasteful feel. I mean, depending on who you are, right? Like mainstream people probably think that. I don't because I understand. But my point is, it's not a blockbuster movie, right? But it's packed full of all these crazy deep truths about like our like hidden history and the world we live in and all these secrets and stuff. And I don't know, like I've been watching this stuff and I've come to like two conclusions. Either one, all of these people know. Like or the directors know. All of them know. I'm talking about the directors of every music video, every writer of every comic book. Stan Lee is definitely in on it, as well as Stephen King. Like there's some people who are like, man, if that's the case and these people know, Stan Lee, Stephen King, there's a whole list of people that definitely would be on the top. Like they know. Or like you were saying, like they're tapping into it. Like everybody's just tapping into this truth that's sort of like maybe like a collective subconscious idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's stuff we all know. If that's the case, like everybody could just creatively, make up a story or write a song or whatever. But in reality, you're not coming up with anything brand new. You're just tapping into some pre-existing information.
Yeah. That's something I think about, because it's hard, because there's other explanations too, like for movies that have a lot of symbolism in it. And when you get to the end, you see the casting and the credits with all these people. It could be just one of those people, the art director that put these symbols on the walls where, us conspiracists are sitting like, oh, look, there's that. And, and nobody
Which they
has to be up.
have,
Yeah. And then there's this,
like in Disney.
there's this story of there's these people were working on an indie film, and some guy, they're shooting a scene in a school, and I can't think of the name of the movie, but the guy, Russian Vids talked about this years ago. The guys were shooting a scene in a school classroom, and some guy approached him and said, hey, can I put something on the chalkboard for this scene? I'll pay you. And he paid him, and they did it. And what he put on the chalkboard was a flat earth map. I'll have to track it down.
He went out of his way to make sure that was included.
Yes. Yes. And then Russian Vids, you could think about him however you want. I didn't mind him, but he interviewed the guy who made the movie, and they talked about this. And this guy approached me. They wanted to put this map on the wall. At the time, I didn't know what it was. So he was following him, and when he started talking about flat Earth, he reached out to him and said, hey, this guy put a flat Earth in my movie, and told him the story of how it happened. So I thought it was pretty wild, if it's true.
Yeah, and you know what? As far as like how we're talking about like all the evil corporations or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
that theme is always in comic books, movies. Like, yes, you have your villains, that work for some sort of super villain who eventually, typically, is a part of some government agency that's actually manipulating that super villain or straight up controlling them and telling them what to do or whatever. And that's all it takes. It doesn't take a whole country full of people to to run an evil organization that rules the world and takes over. It only takes a small amount of people, because you just have them hire a large amount of people and you just tell them, hey, just put this picture up on the wall, and nobody thinks twice because everybody's following orders. Nobody's asking questions, especially in the present age. Nobody's asking questions. It doesn't take that many people. People used to always tell me, well, if there's worldwide conspiracies or, there's some secret evil organization worldwide, I don't see that happening because it's really hard to keep a secret. And my response is always like, for you, it's probably hard for you to keep a secret, but you know what I mean? You should not apply that to everybody else in the world. Lots of people keep secrets all the time, But yeah, there's always some sort of evil corporation. I like, one of my favorite ones is in Resident Evil, the Umbrella Corporation.
I was just getting ready to say, bro, I was pulling up this picture of how accurate it is. I don't know if I could get this right, but there's the Vatican symbol, basically their little cross.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the
Maltese
umbrella
cross.
logo. Yeah, just like it's uncanny, but I think it's purposeful, man.
I think so too.
It's just like that. It's like that's what Resident Evil is, like the Jesuits and the Vatican and everything that leads back to Rome, who currently does run the world. And they use the Zionists as a vehicle to further their agendas.
Oh, hold on one quick second. You disappeared.
I did? Hello?
Yeah, no, you're good on my Skype, but
not on the channel, not on the show.
Yeah. Hey, can you do me a favor and hang up and then call me back real quick?
Sure.
All right, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so while ODD is doing that, I just want to say, hey, what's up to everybody? I'm super sorry I'm not more in the chat right now, but I've got lots of stuff on the computer. All right, let's answer this phone call here.
We good?
Yes, I think we are. Oh, we're good. Wow, you popped right up. Wow, it's like a miracle, man, because technology is so crazy.
Oh, it drives me insane, but I love it.
Okay, so check this out. The Umbrella Corporation, right? You can look at it from the top view, and it's like that Maltese cross. Or if you think about an umbrella from the side, you know what I mean? That's like a dome. Covering, like, we're covering the whole world, basically. Like, we're touching the whole world. And then even like the middle part, that would go into like the North Pole area.
Yeah, Tree of Life, all that.
Right, exactly.
Totally. So umbrella. They're covering, they got it all covered. Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's probably their logo. We've got it all covered.
It's so true. And that's what people either like know these things and they incorporate them into their creative projects. But that's, you said it. That's exactly my favorite one is Resident Evil. I grew up playing the video games and I've always been a huge fan of Resident Evil. And when I think about it, of course there has to be some sort of, did you lose me again?
No, my mind is like blowing around.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with all kinds of stuff in my head listening to you.
Yeah, somebody that controls the medical system, the educational system, the media, just absolutely everything. But it all seems independent of each other and separate of each other, but it's really not. So there is actually a monopoly. It's just crazy to me. And there is people working on biological weapons, and then people like, Lockheed Martin and stuff, NASA getting $52 million a day, and then giving us stupid cartoon images. So what are they doing with their money? They got to be working on black budget technology and maybe working on cloning. I mean, just it gets
they're doing
insane.
Something.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to know what it is, but you can know enough because of the piles of evidence that say they're not doing what they said they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to know what it is, but you can say there's enough there to say, okay, you're definitely
Where's
up
the
to
money?
something, right?
Hmm.
Just like in the movie what was it? The Dark Knight. You know, like that one guy that works for Wayne Enterprises starts going over Bruce Wayne's spending account, and he's like, "Oh, really? You spent 15 grand on a toilet or whatever? Like what in R&D?" You know? And he finds out Bruce Wayne has a special R&D department, and Alfred's basically like, "Go ahead. Who the hell's gonna believe you that Bruce Wayne is Batman, man? Go ahead and tell the world." You know what I mean? Oh, hey, are you still
Yeah, yeah,
there?
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
here.
cool.
I have a mute button, so I
Oh,
hit it
okay.
and I forgot to undo it.
Yeah, so there's always the evil corporation,
Mm.
but I've also found another trend. The evil corporation usually reports to their higher up, which is typically some sort of godlike being, or in the comic book world, my favorite one is Starro. Do you know Starro?
I can't say I do.
Okay, so
Which
you
one's
know
that?
how he's basically like Marvel's version. I mean, you know how Marvel has Thanos, right? He's like one of the world eaters or the world destroyers
Mm.
out to conquer, you know, world after world or whatever. I don't know. Actually, I guess that wouldn't be Thanos. That would be like the dude that Doctor Strange fought. Um,
Oh yeah.
Humbaba or whatever.
Ma. Yeah, something like Ma. Yeah,
Yeah, like Humbaba or something like that.
yeah. It
Because
was
he has
something
that
just like
scene where he
that.
keeps on saying like, uh, "Oh, Dormammu."
Yeah, Dormammu. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like,
Yep, that's the one.
"Dormammu,
Yeah.
I've
He
come
goes
to
over and
bargain."
over. That was hilarious.
So Dormammu's the world eater. Like that's the type of being that the superheroes always have to team up against in order to fight. And sometimes, you know, even some of the bad guys have to team up with the good guys in order to get rid and focus on like this concept of like this world destroyer. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's another one of those themes that I've been seeing. But Starro is awesome, dude. Starro is basically it's the cheesiest supervillain in the comic book industry, in my opinion, because it's basically a gigantic planet-sized space starfish. Okay, it's like the dumbest idea for a bad guy that a person could possibly come up with. It's just a starfish, basically. I mean, it's not really a starfish, but it looks like one, right?
I'm looking at it.
Right. And
Nice.
you'll see, like when you look it up, it's purple, right? Just like
Yeah.
Mr. Glass was purple, right? All these things are color
Just
coded
like,
purposefully.
oh, Thanos is purple,
Yeah,
kinda.
Thanos is purple. Hey, look at Staros's eye. In a lot of them, you can actually see that sort of Atlantis shape or like Captain America's shield. You know what I mean?
I do see that. It looks like a ice rink and then another ice and then a middle point.
Yep. It
Kind of like a
sure does, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, so check this out. Starro occasionally pops up in the DC universe, right? And all the DC superheroes, they have to get together and start fighting Starro. And almost every time, the way that they defeat him is by freezing him. Right? He freezes and he basically goes to sleep, which is kind of like the Cthulhu mythos. You know what I mean? Like Cthulhu is the sleeping god or whatever. The sleeping
Lovecraft.
destroyer.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So check this out. Just like Cthulhu has his own little minions. You know what I mean? Those god type beings, they usually have these little minions that like break off of them, or you know, like they create little monsters or whatever that break off of them that are like little miniature versions of the greater whole. Starro has these tiny little mini starfish that come down and attach to the faces of like everybody in the world in order to like sort of hypnotize them and put them into like this dreamlike trance, right? While Starro is basically covering around the globe or whatever. They even have like a Starro ride at uh Universal Studios. I want to say in like Australia or something like that. But yeah,
That's
that's
interesting.
that's who the
Yeah.
that's who the bad guys report to. They have their own like version of God, which for me, a lot of that stuff, it comes right back around to the eye in the sky, or the all-seeing eye, or the hole in the dome that possibly could bring about, you know, the plasma apocalypse that I talk a lot about, right? And that's their god that they pray to. That they're trying to open up these windows in heaven, so to speak, they're trying to break it open to let that entity back in, along with the quote unquote little, like the little miniature versions, the little spawns of the greater entity, which for me would be the Phantazoids. Have you ever heard of the Phantazoids? I made it up, so you might not have.
No, but like when I'm looking at the Starro picture with the little miniature Starros on the people's faces, and it
Yes,
reminds me of the xenomorphs on Alien, where they kind of when they're
that's
babies.
exactly what that is.
Yeah,
That's
they
exactly what that
what are they
is,
called?
man.
Face huggers or something like
Face
that.
huggers. They always attach, and there were face huggers in Doctor Who. Doctor Who had a Christmas episode where he called them the dream crabs, and they were like basically attached to people's heads, and put them into like this sort of dreamlike sleepwalker state where they didn't know that they were dreaming. Like they didn't even know that they were dreaming, but like they were basically in the Matrix. They didn't
Yeah,
know that they had this face hugger or a dream crab attached to their head. And also, I also found another one in Beetlejuice. Remember when Beetlejuice tries to scare the family and they all start singing the Banana Boat song? They're all
yeah.
possessed, right? And then
Mm,
at the end, these like shrimp hands come up out of their bowls of soup and
mhm,
attach to their faces and
mhm.
suck their faces down into that bowl of soup. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that, and it's like it's all
Yeah,
very much related, and it's hard not to say, there might be something to that, you know?
yeah. I did. The hands came out the soup and grabbed them by their face, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, what something that just popped in my head. I went to go see the new Spider-Man recently, and it's not, it's more Project Bluebeamish. Like you get placed in this holographic world. Basically, you just said he'll put you to sleep and you'll be dreaming and thinking it's reality, but you're just in a dream like the Matrix. In this new Spider-Man movie, these guys are like this guy puts on a show with holograms and laser beams and stuff. So you think you're in an area that you're not actually in,
Really?
and you're dealing with entities that you're not actually dealing with. So it becomes so illusory that it's just you don't know what's real and what isn't. And
Far
um,
from home, right?
yeah, a lot of the movie is basically Project Bluebeam, programming, conditioning, all sorts of things. You got to see it, man. It was really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I really liked Into the Spider-Verse. Did you see that one?
I did. I did.
That was really good, man. That was such a well done cartoon movie.
Mhm.
Super true to comic books and like just, the visuals and everything. I
Yeah.
really liked it a lot. But not
Yeah.
only that, but check this out. They even had, remember how like before we went live, you and I were talking about Stranger Things, and I was talking about that blue ray that shoots up out of the North Pole possibly,
Yeah.
right? And like Godzilla's atomic breath and all that stuff. That's the baby blue whitish light of like the tractor beam, and then I mean that would also, hold on, let me take a step back.
Okay.
All right, what were we talking about? I'm sorry.
The blue beam thing that shoots up.
No, what were you talking about just a minute ago?
Oh, like I was talking about the Spider-Man and how
Oh, that's right. Okay, so Into the Spider
holographic
Verse.
projection.
Right. So remember Into the Spider Verse? They had that weird machine that shot out that light blue, baby blue light in order to like separate the dimensions or whatever. And that's the machine that let all those alternative Spider-Men from the Spider-Verse into that world at the same time. Right?
Yeah.
Was that blue beam. They had to like jump into that blue beam, and then all of a sudden their whole reality was different. And speaking of like Project Bluebeam and stuff, and evil villainous corporations and whatnot, um, technology is so far advanced, right? Like this generation that's growing up right now, they just absolutely take it all for granted. And being a YouTuber, like there's an ever expanding technology that is out there where you can do anything. Anything is possible, especially for those people who have access to like the super far advanced technology that hasn't been released to the public yet. You,
Yeah, yeah. I was getting ready to say that the suppressed technology. Wow, can't even imagine.
yeah, I mean, like the question is like, how far does that go? And at what point do we stop and say, okay, pretty much every single sci-fi movie or book that has ever been written has come true, right? Don't we start kind of taking a second look? Shouldn't that make us take a second look at the current sci-fi movies and what that implies if all of the past ones, talk about like all these inventions and types of technology, and even like books like 1984 that clearly predict the governments that we have today and, our social world that we have today. We look back and say, that all came true. So why not look at present day television shows, movies, books, sci-fi, fantasy, but even more especially our ancient myths and legends and lore and forgotten stories and oral traditions. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that reminds me that I did that video on 9/11 and how they had like 60, I only found 60 instances of the conditioning and the predictive programming. I'm sure there's hundreds more out there, but I found 60 and I showed them in chronological order on my video, but I'm going to gather all the information I can on the destruction of the Golden Gate Bridge or something and see what I could come up with. Because there's landmarks that they're going to do that to again, like the more popular landmarks that they show in a lot of media, comic books, album covers,
oh yeah,
cartoons, whatever it may be. But I was thinking something like the Golden Gate Bridge would be a good one, or maybe even the London, what's that clock? The London Tower?
Big Ben?
Yeah, Big Ben. They always show that being busted up on movies and stuff. So I want to take a look and just do a little piece on something before it happens, because nothing has happened to that stuff yet.
You could too. That's prophecy. Like I think that I talk about that a lot. I think that's exactly how prophecy works. Is there are certain people that retain certain information about the past. They understand that it's cyclical and it just happens again. And they just say, okay, well, I mean, this is clearly going to happen, because all this stuff has happened in our past. And not only that, but if we're all connected through the ether or, mentally or subconsciously connected, then we've been warning ourselves. We've been telling ourselves what was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's funny. And it's kind of like how, I don't know, like you could bring, you could make things happen. Like that, the reason why they put the Georgia Guidestones up is to amplify the desire and the want to, knock down the population and start living in peace and nature with the earth again and stuff. The satanic people that put that up or whatever, I don't know, RC Christian. I'm gonna go visit those in October.
Oh, nice.
I've never seen them before. Have you ever seen the Guidestones?
I haven't seen them in person, but I've been absolutely intrigued with them for a very long time. Actually, I used to be the type of person that like immediately just thought it was like a disgrace and it's the Illuminati, like basically laughing at everyone saying we're going to kill you all. But then as I started to examine it, I started to be a little bit more, I started to wonder a little bit more if there was more to that,
Yeah, I get it. That like the only one on there that's bad is the depopulation part. So it kind of makes you second guess what's going on. But I don't even believe we're overpopulated in the first place. That's a myth. They tell us right now that the population's getting out of hand. I think the population it's a lie. They don't even give us the real number of people that there are on Earth, and we're all crowded into cities. When I drive up north to my friend's house for an hour, I drive through so much open space it's not even funny. Like, so we're all, and then as we keep going forward into the future, they're going to keep crowding us into these mega cities, and it's just going to get so much worse. But we're not overpopulated. It only appears that way because of the way we're crowding into these cities. But you're right. The Guidestones are crazy. So it just has that one that says, let's keep the population under such and such. And then the rest of them are like, live in peace and harmony with the nature and animals and stuff.
Yeah, so that doesn't really add up, right? So I was thinking, what if it says keep the population under 500 million? So what if somebody who built that knew that there's going to be some sort of cyclical cataclysm that happens from time to time that wipes most of the population out and brings it down to under 500 million. And then so they erect these rocks with these writings in every language saying, hey, keep the population low, because maybe they know something about the effects that a high population has on this cyclical cataclysm, or, I mean, possibly, you know what I mean?
No, it makes sense. That's like I have my own theory. Like, yeah, I feel like it amplifies the message into the universe for it to come true. But I feel what you're saying totally. Like after the cataclysm and the destruction, somebody kind of comes out and finds that they happen upon it, and they read it, and they're like, these, they take it as gospel, and that's how they live from there on out.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, you could pretty much write anything. If you really wanted to leave a legacy, you could just make your own
Yeah.
little guide stones.
Like
that say
ODD was
Yeah, you could just mess with
JayDreamerZ
the
was the god of
future.
this world.
Right?
It's
Hey, and
funny.
that's another theme too that's in like comic books and fantasy movie and like all the Marvel and DC stuff. There's this main like culmination of everything, which is the end of the world, you know? And they all bite off of like the ancient religions that all talk about some sort of worldwide cataclysm. The world's going to end. Like, you really can't get, I don't know. I don't know if you can get much worse than that. So that must be an inevitability, you know? Like, basically, they're running out of bad guys. So they're like, okay, is it time to end the world yet? Because we need a new idea for somebody to fight, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, they always have
There's
like some sort of apocalypse that needs to be prevented. And one of my favorite ones, as far as like the DC verse, is Batman. In Batman versus Superman, when he was having those premonitions. Do you remember that? Like he was having those weird dreams where like everything was all kind of like he comes up out of the ground, like some shelter or something, looks around and like the whole world's on fire and kind of destroyed, and it's got like the Omega symbol written in the dirt. And then those weird
Yeah.
flying wasp dudes come down and start trying to fight Batman, and it turns out they all work for Superman.
Yeah, totally. That movie was kind of creepy, dark, and it had some super religious undertones to it. It was pretty wild. It's pretty crazy how all the comic book movies are kind of doing that. They're getting darker and darker, you notice?
Yeah, Brightburn.
Brightburn, that was insane. I saw that just a couple weeks ago.
Dude, so that's a perfect example. I just bought a board game. That's like a Disney, like all the evil Disney characters. It's called Villainous. But it's just all the bad guys of Disney in this board game or whatever. But that's what people are starting to do. They're starting to flip everything around, and they're showing like backstories of all the villains, and they're trying to like, play lighter music and stuff. And what they're really saying is like, are the bad guys really the bad guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Thanos, like I was saying earlier, like Thanos was not just some psycho killer that just wanted to kill half. Otherwise, he would have killed everybody, right? Except for like his friends or something, and like a few people that he might want to stick around. Thanos, throughout the whole Marvel movie, Thanos is like, he's a philosopher, and he's like,
Yeah.
we got to keep balance in the universe, otherwise these worlds, they fall apart, they get overpopulated or whatever happens, they get too far advanced in their technology and they destroy each other. I'm helping out. Poof. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah,
Instead of just seeing
absolutely.
like, oh, who just killed half of everybody? Oh, that guy, let's get him. Like, hey, whoa, slow down, guys. Why don't you talk to me first before just calling me the villain and the bad guy? You don't understand there's higher forces at work. There's other mentalities happening. Just like the ancient Anunnaki, the ancient gods and stuff. They always kind of talked about in these religions how they had councils. They came together because they had their own philosophies, their own moral conduct and standards, and they argued amongst each other, like what to do. There were higher forces at work.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. I mean, they seem to be, I don't know what they're really doing, but it's like with Thanos, you obviously want to not like his character, but he is reserved. He's passionate. He's knowledgeable. He seems wise. But then, yeah, just killing off half the population automatically is like, what the heck? But sometimes it seems like I don't know what they're doing, but it's like the message in there is like, yeah, keep the balance. Sometimes you have to make a sacrifice to be able to have something right,
Right.
to have something good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's weird because it just kind of, the more you look at that, the more it kind of starts coming down to like perspective. Like what's your
Indeed.
perspective? What have you gone through? Like these villains and stuff usually had some crazy upbringing. Or in the trilogy, the Unbroken trilogy, the Beast refers to everyone that he doesn't kill as the broken. So he leaves them alone. All these people have gone through problems in life and stuff. Like the Beast is saying like, hey, these are special people. I'm not killing them. I'm killing the retards that are just, chewing bubble gum and eating cotton candy and watching YouTube challenge videos. And, I don't know, like that's who the Beast was targeting. He was targeting people who are just shallow and like have never really had any problems, have never had any issues in life, in order to refine them and like, give them the fire to walk through to like, to come through like stronger on the other side. The Beast saved all those people, basically. I mean, that's just one way of looking at it, I like to kind of play the devil's advocate at times.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not only that, it's just you can't be super firm one way or the other, or just be one. Yeah, black. It's not black and white. It's really not. So there's all sorts of different ways to look at it. And speaking of, I wanted to say this earlier, but when it comes to the movie The Unbreakable and Split and Glass and all that, we were talking about the evil corporations and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in this movie, all we have is like a secret society that tries to suppress the knowledge of superhumans
Oh,
on
yeah.
Earth. I forgot what it was called, but they use a clover as their logo.
Right. I totally forgot the name of it too, because you don't see him until the very end of the last movie.
Yeah, the doctor on Glass is that lady doctor who's trying to trick him into thinking
Oh,
she tries to gaslight him into thinking that they're not even super at all, that they're just
exactly.
tripping.
Yeah.
And
She's
so
like,
she
the
was
world
part of
doesn't need superheroes.
yeah, she's part of the secret society, but that's just, another layer of the truth in plain sight. Just there's people that are gifted, and then they have to be tracked down and kept suppressed so nobody else, it doesn't get out, nobody knows about them.
Right. Because there's probably 100 more people right behind that gifted person who might consider that they also have some gifts, where they used to dismiss special abilities in the past or write it off as, deja vu, or that was just a weird dream, or, you know what I mean? Where they used to just dismiss these abilities that they have. Um, what was that cartoon where they did the same thing? They wanted to get rid of all the superheroes. It was like a Pixar cartoon. It's
Pixar.
like the family. It's got an
Oh,
eye.
Incredibles.
Yeah, The Incredibles. They did the same thing, right? They were trying to get rid of like all the superheroes and just kind of make everybody normal looking going into the future. So all the superheroes had to basically pretend to be normal people, or even like embrace that sort of a life. Just like Aquaman's mom in the movie Aquaman, right? She leaves. She gives up being using superpowers and everything so that she can just go be like a normal person. Superman has that problem. He can't just be Superman because he lives in a world where people would flip out if they saw him stand alone all by himself. But I think we live in a time where people are starting to wake up, and collectively people are just going to start being more open about a lot of these paranormal things. Like I brought up a list here. I wanted to read this. Notable psychic abilities. Check these out. These are basically superpowers. All right. We got apportation, the ability to undergo materialization, disappearance, or teleportation of an object. Astral projection, mental projection, aura reading, automatic writing, biokinesis, chronokinesis. Biokinesis is the ability to change and control DNA. Chronokinesis is the ability to alter one's own perception of time, causing their sense of time to appear to slow down or speed up. And you know what? I'm going to stop right there. Oh, are you still there? Are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. All right, so I was going to stop on chronokinesis, the ability to alter one's own perception of time, causing their sense of time to appear to slow down or speed up. That is one I know I have because I've done that. I've exercised that power in the past, and I know there are thousands of other people who also have done that. And it's as simple as saying time flies when you're having fun, right? When you're having fun, time literally speeds up, right? Or like
Totally.
when I used to play basketball, I became so expert at the game that time literally slowed down on the basketball court, and I felt like I had all day long to make a decision of like who to pass the ball to and what my next 3 or 4 or 5 moves were going to be. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. They also have clairaudience, which is the ability to acquire information by paranormal auditory means. Claircognizance, the ability to acquire psychic knowledge by means of intrinsic knowledge, which means you just know something. You know, and that's something that's being suppressed right now. Sometimes you just know. You know what I mean? Sometimes it requires no proof, no explanation, no facts, no no approval from other people or whatever. Sometimes you just know something. Sometimes a truth hits you, you know?
What'd you say that's called?
It's called
Claire cognizance?
yeah, Claire. No, wait. This one is claircognizance. I'm
Okay.
on Wikipedia right now. I just typed in list of psychic abilities.
Is clairvoyance coming up?
Yeah, clairvoyance is right here. The ability to perceive people, objects, locations, or physical events via extrasensory perception. So
Like a
it's like
dolphin.
a remote viewing, basically.
Yeah, it's like echolocation with the dolphin in a way. Kind of cool.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that too, because I was actually watching I was watching your video yesterday about the dolphins and the whales like being of like higher intelligence and according to some belief systems out there from another place,
Yeah.
right? And in the DC universe, which is why you have the Peter Porker, remember that?
Yeah,
The
the
pig?
pig, the
Right. In the
spider
DC
pig.
universe, there are other realms or other places where people understand animals. People can talk with animals, maybe not the same language, but they use telepathy and they can clearly understand. There's a whole comic book where Superman leaves this version of Earth, goes to another version of Earth, and he has to help out. He basically has to protect the animal world and all these animal superheroes from Starro. I think it was Starro who was like invading their world. But, people talk to animals and animals talk to people. It's just they don't speak in the same language today, right?
Yeah, that's funny. Like Doctor Doolittle, or yeah, there's this other movie where they're. What movie was that? Where it's like, you can understand me, and he's like, yeah. It was just
Oh,
like the Spider-Man scene, but it was another movie that
yeah.
I forget what it was. But yeah, like I don't know. It's almost like the Bible always talks about animals like talking to people, or like at least the snake at the beginning in Genesis. But not that I take that seriously, but I'm just trying to make comparisons to what if there's like actually things that these stories were actually like super literal, and we're just like, oh, it's just a metaphor for such and
Yeah.
such, but it's actually like, we used to be able to talk to stuff like that. I don't know, like basically like when they had the what was that they were trying to build, what was that, the Tower of Babel, and then when it got torn apart, the
Right.
God made it to where they separated all the languages and you can't understand each other and you're divided and you can no longer work together in
Yeah.
that way.
And according to legend, that's the point in time in which some animals became carnivorous because some of them stopped being able to like understand one another. So it like put all this fear into the animals and stuff, and they
Oh,
started
really?
eating each other because they couldn't understand each other, right? Which could you eat?
Something that's talking to you and telling you
Yeah,
no?
you
Yeah.
can't, man. You could, but
You'd be like,
that'd
yeah,
be
if they
kind
were
of
like
messed
fleeing for
up.
their life or something and you understood them. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like if you understood what the lobsters were saying when they dropped them into that tank and they're all screaming and stuff, it would sound a little more ominous, and you'd be like, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what kind of person you are, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying because it's true. Like, I probably wouldn't be able to.
Hey, are you looking at the Wikipedia page right now that I was telling you about?
No, I'm not.
You want to bring it up and we can kind of. I wanted to show you. It says list of psychic abilities. And
Sure.
I was thinking, I don't know how much more time do you have to chat? Because I was thinking we could take a quick break and then come back for, 15 or 20 more minutes, or however long you want.
I'm good for whatever. Yeah, I'm good
Okay.
for another half hour, 45 minutes.
All right, cool. Let's take a quick break. I'm gonna go ahead and put like a little break screen up, and we'll come back in 3 to 5. I'll probably be back a little sooner. I want to jump in the chat and say hello to everybody.
Okay, I'll do the same.
Okay, cool. We'll be right back.
Great beasts once roamed this world, as big as mountains. Yet all that's left of them is bone and amber.
Okay, cool, sweet. I'm back. So I just wanted to jump into the chat and say hi to everybody. I'm going to give everybody in the chat right now a quick shout out. So Doc Michael's in the chat. What's up, Doc? Great Hope, Jasper Owens, ODD's in the chat. Ricky Martinez, Unlearn the System, Warrior of Love, and Wayne Powell. What's up, everybody? I'm super happy to have everybody joining us today. And I'm just talking with ODD right now. For those of you who haven't checked out his channel, I did leave a link in the description. So you can just click on that, go over to his channel. And he's actually got a couple of channels. He does some really cool like truther rap music. And also talks about a lot of the, similar topics that I do. You know what I mean? Like his motto is where sci-fi and fantasy merge with reality. And he also gets into like the Illuminati and secret organizations, flat earth. Actually, I think he probably has the most popular flat earth video on YouTube, like millions of views. It's called Flat Earth in 5 Minutes. Really good one too. All right, so I brought up the list of psychic abilities. Oh, I also want to throw this out there because I've been super busy. I'm not going to update the credits until tomorrow. But we're still going to run, we're going to run last month's credits today, and then I'm going to get those updated and make sure to give everybody something special in the next credits section. All right, I'm back. Are you back with me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you.
All right, cool. Okay, so I was, if you're just joining us, we were checking out this, we're on Wikipedia right now, and if you want, you can join us checking out this Wikipedia article. It's called List of Psychic Abilities. And I didn't even know there were so many. Where did we stop? We stopped on Claircognizance. Claircognizance, yeah. So we've got Clairgustance, which is the ability to taste without physical contact. Have you ever done that? Have you ever like tasted something without actually putting it in your mouth, like just by seeing it or thinking about it? Or
I can't say I have, but I know that I've smelt something and had it trigger memories to things I don't know, like where it's coming from or what memory it like is bringing back. But it's like, you ever have that where you smell something,
yeah.
You feel like you're 3 years old or 5 years old or whatever age,
you get transported back to like being that kid again in that moment, in that environment. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Let's see. There's also Clairolfactance, the ability to access spiritual or mediumistic knowledge through smell. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure I've seen some examples of that in the movies too. Clairsentience, the ability to psychically feel. That is to receive messages from emotions and feelings. I think some people have also had that. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there. I think that in our DNA, all of this exists. I think that somewhere in there, a lot of us, if not all of us, have this in our, what they call our junk DNA, right? And they don't want it to get activated because in all the comics and all the movies and everything, man, despite the superheroes, they always point out that there's something special about mankind. You know what I mean? And that mankind has so much potential that's just basically waiting to be unlocked. And I think a lot of this stuff is already in there. And I'll bet you, as the days get closer and closer, we're going to see a lot more stories, in social media and probably on the news of people that are starting to develop particular powers. We already know the government they look for these people. The government wants to recruit them or get rid of them, basically, right? Let's see, there's also conjuration, the ability to materialize physical objects from thin air. I think that's an interesting one because, I've been really researching a lot of the plasma stuff and how plasma works and electromagnetics and things of that nature. it doesn't seem so far-fetched, you know, when we cartoonify it and say hocus pocus or whatever, and all of a sudden this entire object just pops out of nowhere, then it's harder to believe. But I mean, the clouds manifest out of thin air. Like, I'll look up and there won't be any clouds, and all of a sudden I see clouds manifesting. You know what I mean? There's divination, the ability to gain insight into a situation using occult means. There's dowsing, the ability to locate water, sometimes using a tool called a dowsing rod. That was in Coraline, right? Coraline was basically portrayed as being a witch with the dowsing rod trying to find the water. And that's also another one of those deep movies too, because Coraline literally goes through the rabbit hole and ends up on the other side of this tunnel, which I talk about a lot as being the Einstein-Rosen bridge, the rabbit hole, the circuits of time, the wormhole above us or whatever, whenever the sky opens up. And that there's a sister world across from us. And that's basically like, for me, that's what I got when I was watching Coraline. You know, she goes from this regular lame kind of a world, all black and white, gets over to this other world where it's all fantastic and fantasy and stuff. But the keeper of the world is this spider woman, like Coraline's other mother, right? She turns into a spider, just like I was talking about a while back. The native people, at least here in America, they all have stories of grandmother spider or mother spider, and she's the creator, she's the keeper between worlds, etc. Energy manipulation, or working with energy, the ability to manipulate physical or non-physical energy with one's mind. And some Eastern practices actually do that, you know, for healing, like Tai Chi, right? Tai Chi works with energy, and Reiki. There's another one called Reiki. Reiki is basically people who can actually see and or feel like the chakras and the energy currents in and around other people's bodies. And they know that they can actually manipulate their energy or their chi or their chakras or whatnot in order to like manipulate the other person to put things where they should be, or to sort of, you know, adjust their energy. And it's a proven practice. People have said they come back from Tai Chi or Reiki experiences. And Chi just means life, right? So that's all that means. It's like he, it's actually like a throat sound. That's why like the Jews, they'll say Chaim. The im is just plural, and they say chai or chi, basically. It's another way of saying chi. They're just saying life. So chi is the life force. Reichi or Reiki is manipulating of the life force, and then Tai Chi, right? But that's real stuff. Like people really do that, but here in the Western world, we dismiss it as, you know, hocus pocus and tomfoolery and, you know, medieval and arcane, and basically saying it doesn't work. But hey, all of our pharmaceuticals work, right? Like, we can sell you some stuff that'll work, but none of that free Eastern philosophy garbage. Like, you can't, you know, it's hard to charge for common knowledge. You know, that stuff used to all be common knowledge.
Yeah, body's on the left brain too.
What's that?
The Western world is just like nothing but left-brained. It's hardly any right-brained going on with you know, it's all analytical and factual versus the, you know, having the creativity and imagination and understanding into the spiritual nature of how this reality operates.
I totally agree. That's why, you know, most of us in the Western world are right-handed. And so the people who are left-handed, you're probably left-handed. Are you left-handed?
I'm right-handed. I could do both if I try.
But, you know, like left-handed people tend to be really creative. Like, you know, they have more of an imagination, you know, they exercise their imagination. A lot of times they actually get jobs in the music industry or as artists. You know what I mean? That's a lot of left-handed people because they're right-brained. Now, let's see. There's also levitation, mediumship, precognition. That reminds me of that movie I was just telling Jenny about, Minority Report.
Minority Report, yeah.
Yeah, the precogs.
Precogs.
Right? Dude, the precogs in the future, that they figured out that that was real, that was like, that was something that you could count on and bank on in the movie. So they took these psychic people and basically locked them away in order to predict people's crimes. Like, they didn't say, oh, that's hocus pocus. Like, they saw, oh, we can make money off of that. So they enslaved the precognitives. That's a sweet movie too.
I read an article a while back that they're actually working on this in real life.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Being able to catch people before they commit crimes.
You know what? I could see it happening that with all the advanced algorithms and supercomputers and quantum computers, that they'll probably just start saying, you know what? Sorry, but the odds are against you, like in Gattaca, right? Remember, in Gattaca, like they pretty much use their advanced technology to qualify people for jobs based on a sample of their DNA or their past history or whatever. I mean, I'm sure you could go around just arresting people and pick an island to just drop them all off at or whatever. Australia.
Drop them off an island where they could get cloned.
Oh, yeah, The Island, too.
The Island. That's a great movie.
That was a good one. Let's see, what else do we have? Prophecy, the ability to predict the future. That happens a lot, man. You don't have to, be the king's assistant to be a prophet, Man, that reminds me of another movie, too. Jay and Silent Bob. I forgot the first one. No, Dogma. I think it was Dogma, right? Where the one guy was talking about, like, making himself a prophet, but he was talking about money. Like, Jay was talking about, like, oh, I could do this and make myself a prophet, but it actually fulfilled prophecy in the movie Dogma. And see, that's another one of those movies, too, where they pretend like it's all a joke or it's all funny. You've got George Carlin and various comedians and stuff, but it's super full of really deep, true stuff,
Yeah.
Like the angels. The angels could not walk through this particular barrier or the end of the world would come. Right? And I love that part in the movie where the demon, because we were talking about, like, how it boils down to perspective and how, like, a lot of the movies and stuff, they're showing, like, the bad guy's perspective, almost making them look like they're the heroes. Right? There's this part in Dogma where the demon is talking to this girl played by Selma Hayek, and Selma Hayek's like, are you crazy? You really want to end the world? You want to destroy everything? And then with all seriousness, this guy looks right into her eyes and he says, human, have you ever been to hell? I would rather not exist. Of course I'm going to destroy it all. Because he knows if he gets caught, he's going to go back to hell, right? Pyrokinesis, the ability to create and manipulate fire with the mind. Fire is basically plasma. You know what I mean? And a lot of this stuff reminds me of the X-Men, too.
You ever seen the movie Firestarter? That's all about pyrokinesis.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Drew Barrymore?
Yeah, Drew Barrymore. Dang, that's a... Like that, what was that? Like a mid-'80s movie, too.
Yeah, old movie. Right around the time of E.T.
Wow, that's a good one. I'm going to have to go back and watch that one.
Totally.
And there was also, there's an X-Men named Pyro.
Yep.
And he can, like, control fire and stuff like that. There's remote viewing, which is, that goes back to Stranger Things. That's what 11 did.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's an established reality. Remote viewing, we have hired remote viewers in our military to spy on other countries and stuff. Like we know this. Retrocognition, the ability to supernaturally perceive past events. So that doesn't mean like remembering, oh, like I know what happened in the past, but it means like knowing more than what we've been told about the past, like placing yourself in the moment, kind of like Lucy. Remember that movie Lucy?
Yep.
Yeah, like Scarlett Johansson, she could place herself in the past and like check it out basically and look around,
Yep.
That would be like retrocognition. We've got scrying, the ability to look into a medium to view, to detect significant information. I think I know what scrying is too.
Oh, we could talk about this because the show Black Mirror they call them scrying mirrors, I think, if I'm correct. I've looked
Yeah,
at
they
it
do.
before. And so Black Mirror in itself, the creator says he's talking about television sets when they're turned off, or your phone when you're looking at it and it's just a black screen.
Yeah.
That's Black Mirror. But in the past, Black Mirrors were these scrying mirrors where you can look and obtain information. Crazy.
Wow. That, you know what? That also reminds me of like the magic mirror, because Jenny and we had the television off the other day, but then I realized it's like reflecting everything in front of it, and it's basically a mirror. And I'm like, wow, what if the magic mirrors of old were just history repeating itself, and that's the time of the gods, and the gods had this advanced technology, and they said, Google on the wall, where the hell is the mall, or whatever, and then it talks to you, and you know what I mean? Like, that's a magic mirror right there.
Hey Siri, huh?
Yeah. Oh, check this out. I was doing a live stream the other day. I didn't even say the G word, right? My phone turned on, recorded a whole paragraph of what I had said, because somebody had mentioned I needed to check out Neuralink. Somebody was telling me I need to go research Neuralink. And I was like, what's that? I don't even know what that is. And my phone went, bling, what's that? I don't even know what that is. Neuralink. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. Clearly it's listening.
Is that new brain net thing that they're gonna have? Like, you're gonna just like have like
Oh,
this.
yeah. Yeah, that's okay. So check this out. I watched a few videos on it and I could explain it in like 10 seconds. Basically, what's the Tesla guy? The Tesla car guy? Elon Musk.
Musky.
Yeah, Elon Musk, or L for short, right? So
Loans.
Elon, right? He basically is going to take this tiny microchip, stick it on the side of people's head, and there's these super, super tiny wires that are like way smaller than human hair that act as antenna. They stick them, like let's say my fist is a neuron in your brain, right? They just stick this antenna right next to the neuron without causing any damage, because they make sure to really drive that point home, right? Clearly, because they're sticking stuff into people's brains, right? So he's like, oh no, it doesn't even, we make sure to avoid all the blood vessels, etc. They stick it out as an antenna that's basically acting as a Bluetooth device for the information in your neurons. In your brain, it receives the information and it opens up a world of possibilities. Now, the one thing they don't really talk about is that if it can receive information through an antenna, obviously it can probably give information as well. So people are all excited about it, and they're going to flip it like it's the Matrix, like, oh, you can learn all this stuff, you can go places. Did you ever see that movie where they like plug into something and they like, it's like they take a vacation in their mind, you know what I mean? But
Was that
it
Total
goes all
Recall?
screwy. No, not Total Recall, but that's the same thing. It's basically the same thing. That's where this is headed. You could put memories into people's heads. You can just send them memories of their awesome vacation they had. Well, what about movies that are trying to tell us something, like Dark City, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they're going around injecting people right into their heads and giving them completely different identities, right? But that's basically what Neuralink is. It connects you to the entire world, just like your brain is connected to the internet, but even more so. And they're going to have apps for it on the phone. You're going to be able to have an app for your brain, dude.
Yeah. Or open up your garage door or turn on your lights or whatever with your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Just by thinking about it. Oh, man. And you know what's crazy? These are the same types of quote unquote powers that the ancient gods, or Anunnaki, or whatever people would like to call them, are described as having in all of these old stories. They even go so far in the Enuma Elish, that was translated by Zechariah Sitchin, right, in all his books and stuff. The Enuma Elish is the creation story, and basically that's the whole Anunnaki story, right? In those scrolls, it says that there was a war between the gods over a tablet of destiny. Right? Now, we used to think about tablet and we would think of like Moses's 10 commandments and it's just a piece of rock and that's a tablet. Bro, what if it was a tablet? Right? And it could do things. They called it tablet of power or tablet of destiny.
It was actually an iPad.
Right. It was an iPad that was hooked up to like all their other technology, and they were able to drop bombs and, you know, do stuff on command with the press of a button from their tablet of destiny.
Right.
Jeez.
It's crazy.
Man, that is crazy. The last one they have on here is photography. Photography. There you go. You want to read that one?
The ability to imprint images from one's mind onto physical surfaces, such as photographic film, by psychic means. So basically, you're able to draw up anything you're thinking of perfectly onto a piece of paper or something.
Yeah, like it's like taking a picture, you know? I mean, our eyeballs are the exact same as like how a camera works, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole list. I wasn't even aware of half these things. I didn't even know there was a name for half these things. Like I knew that they have happened, but I didn't know that there was like all these different names for them. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, real quick. Next time we hang out, like I wanted to talk more in depth about, you know, all of the various ideas that I have about the plasma apocalypse. That way you and I could just talk about it or whatever. You know, you don't have to watch hours of videos and stuff. But there's a couple things I wanted to hit on. One was the red eyes, right? Oh, and you saw my website. So there's I have a whole plasma apocalypse section, and it's real short and to the point, and there's like a lot of visuals and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the red eyes. When people become plasma possessed, basically, they develop these red eyes. Superman, his laser vision. You actually have Cyclops. I made a little frame for you for Cyclops. That's plasma. Red eyes just shooting out of his face, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's also in the story in the book of Enoch when Noah was born. It says his eyes lit up, and his eyes lit up the whole room. And that's because his dad thought that he was birthed by the quote-unquote angels from above or whatever, right? The gods, the aliens or whatever, the superheroes. Okay, so there's the red eyes, there's the plasma possessed. Now check this out. This also gives us the very real possibility of a zombie apocalypse, okay? If the plasma is like the same as spirit and it can energize things because it's basically electricity, right? One, you're going to have Skynet, instantly feasible, okay? It's going to turn on every single toy. No toy is going to need batteries to turn on. It'll just draw power from the air because we'll live in an influx of plasma in our world, right? All the toys will turn on, just like Toy Story. That's a true story as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's hitting on a lot of truth. You know, Chucky, stuff like that. But then you also have the animals and the dead. If the plasma is seeking a body and it just goes in and basically activates the brain and starts animating things, now stuff like Pet Cemetery is absolutely feasible. Or the dead coming up and walking around, just like it says in the Bible that they did when Jesus was crucified. It says that the dead saints got out of their graves and walked around and were seen by many people. You know, zombies are very real and very much could. There's a reason why this concept of a zombie apocalypse is getting so popular. People have got bumper stickers and stuff. It's not just because it's like a pet rock, you know, like, oh, it's just a fun, stupid thing to promote. It's because there's truth and substance to it. You know what I mean? Let's see. There's the weakened gravitational field. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to mention the zombies thing. They're doing the zombie crawls in like all the major cities now, like around October-ish. We have ours here in Denver. I was going to shoot a music video, but I'm actually going out of town to a conference this year. But I think it'd be perfect to do like a music video with a bunch of zombies walking around, and I'll dress up like in tactical gear, like just do my
Hey, can I be a zombie? If you do that, I want to be one of your zombies.
There's thousands of them. It would just be so perfect because they don't have to sign anything.
Right.
It would just be in the background of the music video, and with the, what I talk about in my music, basically talking about sheep and zombies needing to wake up. It'd be
Yeah.
perfect. So I'm gonna probably try to shoot for that one of these days, one of these years, next year. Missed it this one.
Another thing is, like I said, the possibility of a weakened gravity or a weakened electromagnetic force, which, by the way, is probably the force in Star Wars. Like, it works just like electromagnetism. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got electricity that they shoot out of their hands. They can push objects or pull objects, right? Extended life. This is probably the coolest superpower of all of them, right? Is being an immortal. And this is also one of the themes that we have. You know, oftentimes these superheroes have an extended lifespan in comparison to ours, right? They outlive us and they help people century after century or whatever. I mean, these days, some of the superheroes, like they're allowing them to age. You know, sometimes they'll show like an old Ben Affleck Batman or whatever.
Right.
Getting all fat and fat Thor. I don't know what's up with that.
That was comedy.
But yeah. Oh, and then the last thing I wanted to say as well, because like I said, I was watching your video about the dolphins and the whales and how, like you were saying, you know, that they were basically possibly advanced, like, right?
Yeah.
Like you were
Like
saying
it-
that they were one of the most intelligent, maybe even more intelligent than humans.
Yeah, and it's human hubris to believe otherwise. We just automatically think we're the most advanced species, when in fact, there's creatures that they're amazing, to study, to look at, to observe. Dolphins and whales are by far my favorite. And when you look at them in the movies, they're always given these kind of same, they're the same specific details on what's going on, and a lot of the times they connect them to aliens. And of course, these days none of us are really thinking aliens are real. We look at them like there's these entities out there, spiritual forces, but not actually aliens. But in the movies, when they're comparing them to that, they're basically saying they're not really of this world. They're not really meant to be dealing with the way we're carrying on our world. It's ridiculous. They're so amazing. I don't really know how to explain it, but I can tell that they're so much more intelligent than even we give them credit for when we're watching documentaries about them and stuff. Because they say that they're highly intelligent, but I think it's way more than we can even imagine.
Dude, I used to when I was in the Marine Corps, I was stationed down in San Diego, and there was this base that I went to, like a Navy base, where they had people that worked in the Navy that were training dolphins to like put handcuffs on like spy swimmers. They were training dolphins to like deactivate and cut like underwater mines and stuff like that. The dude showed me the dolphins and everything. Like, dolphin came up and said, "Hey, what's up?" and flipped his flipper at me and everything. Like, it knew who I was and everything, and it was totally cool. It's like it knew what was being spoken about it as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like Johnny Mnemonic, the dolphin.
The cyborg dolphin.
Yeah, and then there was another one I didn't put on the video that I made about it, but there is like all these old books and shows where like the dolphins work for the CIA and stuff. They're like spy dolphins and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
Dude, my favorite one is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
The dolphins literally know that the world is going to end. They have like beforehand knowledge, and they sing the song, and then they all get sucked up into the sky, which is a part of the plasma apocalypse that I talk about, the world depressurizing and people getting sucked up or whatever. The dolphins go back up, and I'm pretty sure, I want to say it's like either Seventh-day Adventist or Jehovah's Witnesses. I think it's a part of their religion that talks about like either space whales or space dolphins or something like that. I can't remember because I haven't studied that for a long time. But I sort of came up with this theory that there are these ancient beasts of old that I refer to as the Phantazoids. These are the old monsters. I mean, gigantic, don't look like animals, don't look like people, like these weird looking space monsters that from time to time enter into our world, falling down from the sky, just like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You saw that whale fall down, right? It was just falling down from the sky, right?
Yeah.
And another word for whale is monster.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
why in Pinocchio, the whale is called Monstro.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, there was monsters of old, great beasts of old, the behemoth, the leviathan, all these ancient beasts, and I've started to classify them. So when you check out my website, check out the Phantazoid section that's under the Plasma Apocalypse, and I've classified like 3 different families and 3 or 4 different types, right? But one of the things, you see them in the movies, bro. When you look this up, you're gonna see them everywhere. The Phantazoids are everywhere, bro.
Okay.
And also, like, the kind of skin that they have is typically kind of the same. They sort of have like this rubbery, shiny kind of skin, just like dolphins and whales do, right? But check this out. Let's say, remember, if let's just say, right, that dolphins and whales came from space. Let's just say that was true. Well, we already talked about how there is the plasma sphere around our world, which is electric, which means that they would have to have the ability to come through an electric barrier, right? A whole bunch of sea life is electric in itself and carries a charge inside of it and will
Right.
shock you. And a dolphin looks like it's made out of rubber. You know what I mean? Like, they could have absolutely came through if that was the case. Like, they could have made it through. I could totally see that happening. Water's above, electricity above, whatever. And, okay, so anyways, let me get back to this. The Phantazoids, okay? In a nutshell, they're a part of the fractal verse, right? Remember Ant-Man?
Yep.
All right, you know how, like, Ant-Man gets smaller, but the universe continues to go on and on no matter how small he gets, right?
Yeah.
Same thing when we go the opposite direction. So if we were to leave our little world, let's just say that our world is like the Who's in Horton Hears a Who, right? And we live on a flower or whatever, right? We're that tiny. We leave this world, and all of a sudden everything out there, there's conditions out there in so-called space that, one, allow beings to live for a very, very long time, and two, cause them to grow like really, really big. So those microscopic creatures in our microcosm, when you flip it around and you go upwards, become the great monsters of old, or the Phantazoids, as I call them, right? They come down in here every once in a while, and they don't last a long time. So it's sort of an imprint on our subconscious mind, like the time where we fought the monsters, or the insects. A lot of times aliens are depicted as giant insects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like the Knights Fighting Snails. Did you see New Earth do that Knights Fighting Snails video?
No, I haven't.
Super good. I did a little piece on it too, but in all these medieval pictures, you could type it into Google and just bring up any image. There's hundreds of pictures of knights fighting snails, sometimes other insects that are just gigantic. And what they say is, oh, that just represented the, certain royal houses that they didn't like, so they're insulting them or whatever. But anyway, yeah, they're giant snails. There's a giant snail in the Neverending Story.
Yep. The
Right?
racing snail. Yep.
And how about this? How about the sandworms, right? Gigantic, huge sandworms that come up and grab people or whatever. We already have those in the microcosm, right? But anyhow, so check this out. Last thing I know I'm kind of ranting at this point, but
You're
last
good.
thing I wanted to say about that is, along with the Phantazoids, okay? They come down and typically, okay, the perfect example of a Phantazoid is the Demogorgon from Stranger Things, okay? It's got that shimmery kind of skin to it. A lot of times, there's a certain class of Phantazoid that has its face open up, just like some of our parasites and some of our worms and smaller creatures that we have, right? The face opens up and all that, right? But it's just that they're gigantic because they came from the macroverse beyond our world. and they fell down into this world. See, what happens when they fall down into this world, after this world seals back up and it's a closed system once again, is they have offspring, and those offspring grow to the size of the world they live in, like a goldfish. So things get smaller and smaller and smaller. Pretty soon, the whales get smaller and smaller. The dolphins get smaller and smaller. All the little sea life that people love to eat in their gourmet food, those are phantazoids, basically. That's like, those are the ancestors of giant, crazy-looking space creatures that just made a home here in our oceans. I mean, that's basically that's the theory I want to throw out there. Lastly, it stands to reason that some of these creatures might have diseases, just like we do, right? Let's say one of these creatures bites you or stings you or infects you, and all of a sudden you're infected with this virus, but there's some sort of a creature growing inside of your body using it to incubate, and that's how they procreate, or that's how they, germinate or whatever, right? And now you have movies like The Thing, right? Where like people's, there's something growing inside of them, and body parts are eventually going to split open, and they look all really weird and disfigured and stuff like that. I call that, and I believe that that is the T virus from
Resident Evil?
Yeah, from Resident Evil. And I believe that it's called the T virus because if you imagine like the dome of the world, right? Let's say it's a dome, right? Let's say our sky is shaped like a bubble or something, right? And let's say that you have this bright baby bluish white light that shoots up from the center of the world and hits that dome. It's because it's physical, because it's I'm going to say it's plasma, okay? So if it was plasma shooting up, plasma is physical and it will interact with other physical objects. When it hits that dome, instantly it's going to want to spread out, which will create a T until it eventually breaks through, at which point in time it will create a cross or a crucifix. That is the T virus, or aka space virus, the virus from the phantazoids that they brought in here. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
Phew. Yo, man, we've been talking for like 2 hours.
Yeah, we did good.
I feel like I've been ranting. I feel like I've been...
You got a
Sometimes I
great.
get so excited.
You got a great mind. I like hearing your thoughts. It's like you think of things that just blow my mind, bro. Straight up. So it's all good.
So I put a link for your channel in the description so everybody can go check out ODD's channel. You want to, like, just for the viewers, so you can, have some people come check out your stuff, tell them what you're about and what your channels do and maybe your music and stuff.
Cool. Well, I've been rapping since 1999, so I became a truth seeker in 2012, decided to start making videos in 2014, merged the two worlds. So now on my channel, I rap and I make music that has to do with truth, and I also make videos. But right now, I'm working on an album, so I'm focused on it, and I'm almost done. So when it's done, I'm going to start doing videos again. A lot of people think that I've stopped doing videos just to do music only, but I've always done both, and I always will do both. So when I finish up my new album called Never Sleep Again Part 2, I will continue making videos again. And if you check out any of my old videos, I like to take my time and put as much effort as I possibly can to make them high quality and very shareable with friends and family. So keep that in mind. And if you need music to listen to, sick of the mainstream stuff, check out my music.
Yeah, honestly, your music is some of my favorite music, and I'm super picky. Like, usually if I write a song, I'm like, this is my favorite song. But a lot of your songs are just super good, man. One of my favorite ones is Glitch. What was it called? Glitch in the System?
Yeah, that's an old song that I did.
Dang, I can't find it. You're going to have to send it to me, because I looked for it. I couldn't find it.
It's on my SoundCloud. I'll send it to you.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, because there's a lot of good music to rock out to. And hopefully we might be able to collaborate one of these days.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to.
That would be super fun. All right, I think we should probably wrap some things up here. Just call the show. I just want to say thanks, man. And next time you're in town, dude, give me a call so that we can hang out. Or I can come down there too if you're ever free, you know? I know you work. I know you got like another job and everything and been a little busy, so you're juggling a lot of stuff, and I super respect that. But let me know whenever you're free one of these times, and I'll make a trip down there.
Cool. If I could ever get you out here on a first Wednesday of the month, we'd love to take you to Goosetown Tavern, where a bunch of flat earthers meet up monthly. They'd probably know who you are and would love to meet you, so we could do that sometime.
That sounds good. Maybe we could go bowling again. That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be sweet, man.
I really like that bowling alley with those giant video games.
Let's do it, man. That'd be great. Pac-Man, that was fun.
All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and roll the credits. We'll see you guys next time. I'm JayDreamer saying good vibes and goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.